Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Season 12, Episode 23, overall 628 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com. for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac vehicles as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210. That's 519-824-0210. Tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969. I hope everyone's doing well on this Thursday, December 4th, 2025. I am doing well, and I have a busy day today. I have two shows coming up, and I'm looking forward to my first show, which is now with my special guest, and then I have another one at 4 o'clock with Dylan Baker, the radio play-by-play voice of the Guelph Storm. But we're going to introduce our first guest, who I met through TikTok, and her name is Tiffane Sankey. She is a real estate agent in Toronto in the GT area, and we're going to bring her on in a moment. Good afternoon, Tiffane. How you doing?
Great, Chris. How are you?
Good. That's something new on my StreamYard is the applause, so I wanted to try that out on you. So thank you so much for coming on here today, Tiffane.
Of course, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So how is things right now in the world of real estate in the GTA?
Real estate in the GTA is looking great right now. It's the time for buyers. If you are interested in buying a home, now is your time. The interest rates have gone down. There is so much inventory. The cost of homes has gone down, as well as the overall cost of living. They're trying to make everything, more affordable, it seems. So right now it's looking up. It's looking like it's going up.
Really? I did not know that. I wanted to ask you this too. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the real estate agency?
Of course. So, like you said, my name is Tiffane. I'm a realtor in the GTA. I'm a mom. I have a 2-year-old son. Straight out of high school, I went to Humber College, did the paralegal program. So I have a bit of a legal background. And right when I graduated, I started working at a law firm. Now, unfortunately, I did part ways with the law firm. And then COVID hit. So I was left in a situation where it was like, okay, I need to get a new job. But unfortunately, I was working in the food service industry. I was a bartender for about 6 years. And that took a big hit during the pandemic, right? So I was sitting at home and I was on my computer checking email because I was applying to a million jobs a day. And I got an email from Humber College about their real estate program. And I thought, oh my goodness, I had no idea that Humber had a real estate program. I had no idea that this was even available to us. And real estate's always been something I was interested in. Even in high school, I would be looking online, condos.ca, property.ca, Zillow, all these websites, just simply looking at properties, not because in high school I could buy, but simply just because I just loved it. I loved looking at the different infrastructure, the different property types, and the way people decorate their homes, and trying to compare values and whatnot based on what I could see online. When I saw that Humber was offering the program, figured, you know what? It's a pandemic. I'm sitting at home. I have nothing really else to do. Why don't I just take the course and see where it takes me? And after about a year or so, I got my license and it's been going up since then.
Can you tell our audience, by the way, I started my new career into radio media during the pandemic as well, March of 2020, when I went through my work divorce, and I was already starting for a new career. And it's funny how many guests I've had on here have got into new careers during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah, the pandemic was definitely a rough time for many, but it gave a lot of us the opportunity to really look at our life and look at what we have going on. And I don't know about anybody else, but for me at least, it was a moment where I said, okay, I want to do what I love, because doing what I was told to do or just going to school and getting a degree and starting to work, sometimes it doesn't work out. And then the world can go into a lockdown and now you have no job, no money, or you're stuck in a job where you're unhappy. Yeah, the pandemic definitely opened my eyes.
I can relate that to that as well. I wanted to ask you, Tiffany, can you tell us about the licensing aspect of being a real estate agent, a realtor?
Of course. So in Ontario, you have to complete the educational requirement. So I went to Humber College. There's a series of courses that you have to complete, as well as exams and then virtual sessions where you're sitting with the other students and a proctor or an instructor who's going to teach you about the day to day of being a realtor and how to deal with certain situations and how to negotiate and speak and whatnot. Once you've completed all of the educational requirements and you've passed the exams, then you get your license. You have to purchase your insurance. You have to purchase your registration with the board of your choosing. I'm in the GTA, so I'm under the Toronto Real Estate Board. And then you join a brokerage and you're good to go.
Do you have to renew it like every year or every 5 years, like a driver's license?
Exactly. So every 2 years, you're going to get educational requirements you have to do, like supplementary courses on things like commercial real estate, business planning, ethics, and whatnot, just to kind of keep things going in your mind. And then your insurance you have to renew every couple of years as well.
A retesting part too?
So the courses may have retesting. Some courses do, not all of them do though.
Who were some of your influences and mentors through Humber College, if you had any?
When I was doing the course at Humber, I did not have a mentor because I was just a student. I didn't have anyone close to me that was a realtor, but I was following a lot of realtors on social media. And I was watching Selling Sunset, which a lot of people watch. Is not as realistic, comparing the US California real estate world to the Toronto real estate world. It's not all glitz and glam. But it kind of gave me that little insight of wow, this is what's attainable. This is a reality, and this is a goal for myself. Now I'm under King Realty Co, which is a brokerage in Etobicoke. It's mainly women, all people of color. Um, and I do have a wonderful mentor. Her name is Michelle. But our broker of record, Bethany King, also makes it a point to be involved very much so in the day to day of her agents. We actually had a mentorship meeting this morning where she did talk to us about business planning. We have meetings every week where we talk about how we can get ourselves to where we want to be in our business. A lot of the agents in the office are well established in their careers, and they also make the effort to make sure that we all feel comfortable. Agents like Patrice Williams and Sasha Vella, who are also at the office, I've been working with them for a couple of years. Everybody, it's kind of just like a community. Everybody makes a point to be there for each other. So even though I do have one designated mentor, it's kind of like I have 60 at the same time.
What's that experience been like being with King Realty Company?
King Realty Co has been a dream. I got my license about 4 years ago. And I was at brokerage in Brampton and it just wasn't working out for me. So I left and joined EXP under another agent in the office, Patrice Williams. And it was going well. I was doing lots of transactions. It was very, very good. But then I had my son and I had to take a break just because working full time and then also being a realtor and a mom now, a new mom, it became too much. And then this year in the summer, Latrice reached out to me and let me know that she had joined Bethany and that they were going to be having a brokerage opening up pretty soon and that I should, take the time to look into what they have to offer. I sat down with Bethany one day and she let me know what she had going on and it all aligned perfectly with what I want for myself. And it's been great. The amount of support and training, mentorship that I receive at King Realty Co. is unmatched. Like you're not going to get it anywhere else.
From my experience nowadays, it seems like a lot of companies are doing less and less training. And to me, if you want to retain employees long term, it's important to have good, proper training for those people.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. It makes a world of a difference. And because we're in 2025, we're in the digital age where everything is online and in a cloud. A lot of offices made it a point to have a lot of virtual trainings where it's just anybody can upload a video of them speaking on a topic, and then it's up to you if you want to read it or not, or watch it or not, but it's not mandatory. King Realty Co. has curated on her own training for every single thing from how to attract buyers, sellers, tenants, clients, to how to close a deal, to how to run your business, to how to do your account, to everything. And it's all from her and it's all in one place. So it's not going to get confusing or difficult trying to figure out who's right and who's not. 100%.
The power of social media has really shrunk the world, especially in the real estate agent world as well.
Absolutely.
How important is it for a real estate agent to have strong social media presence in 2025?
Social media presence as a realtor is one of the top priorities because if you go outside, everybody's on their phone. They're on Instagram, they're on TikTok, they're on Snapchat, Twitter, X, Facebook, Twitch, they're on everything. So if you have a business and you want to be top of mind, then you have to find your way into the consumer's phone. And the best way to do that is to make content and post it on the internet. Of course, you can pay for ads to run on YouTube, on Facebook, on Google, but then you're going to be paying money out of pocket and you may not get a return. Whereas making a video, a reel, posting on Instagram or on TikTok is free. It can get people getting onto your page. People are going to be seeing you. The algorithm is going to pick you up and you're going to be going viral. And then the leads will convert, right? Out of every 10 people that follow you, one of them might want to buy lease rent, and then you can foster a relationship with that person, and then when they are ready to purchase, you're already there.
Tiffany, for those people that are watching this show live stream or on audio and they're looking to get into the real estate agency like yourself,
Mhm.
from your experiences, what advice would you give to them?
I would tell them to really sit down and consider what is important to them and assess where they are in their life because this is a full-time job. I right now am a part-time realtor because I have a career otherwise, like I have a job. But even though it is part of my time, it takes full-time effort. It's not easy. There are many days where you have nothing. You have no clients calling you, you have no leads, you have no emails, and you still have to get up and you still have to show up. You still have to make the content, you still have to nurture your leads. You have to find a way to get things yourself. Nothing is given to you that is great and free. You have to work for everything. So if you want to be a realtor, you have to consider your people skills, you have to consider your resilience, and you have to consider your ability to deal with going from 0 to 100. It's an entrepreneurship at the end of the day, right? So you're your own boss, you get your own deals.
How important are listening skills too?
That's half of it. Half of it is listening, half of it is talking, right? You have to you have to be able to hear what the person wants, hear what they need, and then be able to assess what's important from that information. A lot of times people will come to me and tell me, I want two bedrooms, I need to have a view of the lake, and I need to have a two-car garage. And I say, well, and I want it to be downtown. And I say, well, unless you have $1 million laying around, I don't think that's going to happen because a two-bedroom, two-car garage property with a view of the lake is going to be probably on Lakeshore or in the beaches. Those houses are not cheap, right? So you have to, part of it is listening. You have to be able to hear what they're saying to you, but then you also have to be able to tell them, we got to be realistic.
For those that are in for those people that are in your industry right now, how important is a work-life balance so you don't end up getting burned out?
It's very important. And I can attest to that myself. After I had my son and I was on maternity leave from my job, I decided that I was going to take real estate full time and make that my priority. And I was doing a lot of leases back then. Now, leases are the bread and butter of your business, right? That's how you get your first time buyers. A lot of the time, they start off as renters and then they move up to buyers. But you have to be able to tell people no, and you have to be able to know what works for you and what doesn't. There was one day, and I tell people this all the time. There was one day when I had a tenant client and I was helping them to lease a house, and I drove from Hamilton all the way up to Orangeville. We saw 4 properties that day for rent. And at the end of that day, the last property we saw in Orangeville was a beautiful house. It was at a great price point and it was ready to move in. It was turnkey, and they did not want it for whatever reason. And that's when I had to say, you know what, I need to stop for a second. I'm doing too much. There's no reason for me to be driving 2 hours from Hamilton all the way up to Orangeville for a lease, and it's not even going to work. Like, you have to be able to schedule yourself and be disciplined, because in this industry, if you get burnt out, not only are you negatively impacting your clients because you can't be available for somebody when you're burnt out, you're hurting yourself. You're not able to show up for yourself either. And as an entrepreneur, taking care of yourself is step one. That's the most important. So,
For our audience, Tiffany, I wanted to get your thoughts too. What's
mhm.
your thoughts on renting versus leasing versus owning? The pros and cons of all of them.
Right. It all depends on where you are. If you are working a job and you're not making an amount to where you can save and you are currently renting, in my opinion, the best bet would be to see if you can, make some sacrifices, right? And find a way to rent at a level or at a price point where you can save a bit more to purchase. Ideally, the best thing for everybody, in my opinion, is going to be to purchase, just because it gives you stability. You're not at the mercy of your landlord or of whatever organization it is that you're renting from. But I do also understand that purchasing is not ideal for everybody. If you travel a lot, sorry, that buying is not ideal. If you travel a lot for work, maybe you don't want to buy a house because you're not going to be there for majority of the year, right? Maybe renting is best for you then because you do move a lot. But in my opinion, it's best to buy because, well, as a mom, I have a child, I would want to buy a house because I need a place that's stable for my child. I don't want to have to uproot them and move every year, every other year. And it just gives you a sense of home, a sense of peace, knowing that next year, even if I lose my job, I have my little bit of savings, I don't have to worry about the fact that my landlord can kick me out, and then I have to start over.
When buying a house, obviously location, neighborhood is important, but when you're looking to buy a house, which is a huge financial commitment, should you not check out the previous owner because of the renter situation? And I wanted to get your thoughts on trying to get renters out of a house if you don't want them in there. The squatters, I guess, because you're seeing a lot more of that nowadays in Ontario.
Yeah, the squatters. So when buying a house, checking out the previous owner, it depends on what's important to you, you know? If you're a person who is, more superstitious, or maybe you like to feel very certain of what you're moving into, you don't want to move into a house and, maybe there was bad energy previously and whatnot, then of course you can talk to your realtor. But we have to understand that our clients are protected, right? All their information is private. It's protected under a client representative privilege. So realtors are not supposed to be disclosing any information about their client to you. If you're looking to buy a house and you want to know things about the previous owner, your realtor is not supposed to tell you stuff
Okay.
about who you're buying the house from. That's a big no-no. In terms of the renters, if you want to buy a home and there are tenants on the property and you don't want tenants, maybe you should not buy that house, because
Okay.
not only are you gonna be uprooting this family, right? n- you're buying if you're able to buy a house that has like an extra suite in it and you just want that for your family, then that's great. You can do that. But me personally, if I'm looking for homes and there are tenants on the property, we got to test the waters and see what the relationship here is with the tenants, because sometimes it's not that great. And then we do end up in a situation where we have squatters. Bill 60 was just passed because in the pandemic, this was a major issue. We were having many, many, many homeowners and landlords who had tenants on their properties. And unfortunately, because of the pandemic, these tenants had no work, they had no income. Of course, we did have the relief fund from Trudeau's government that did help some people, but if you were getting $2,000 every 2 weeks, and that's less than what your pay is, and your rent is 4 grand or whatever amount, maybe you can't afford rent now for whatever reason, and you're not paying your rent. A lot of people were experiencing that during the pandemic, and that led to an immense amount of eviction notices being filed. The landlord tenant board was backed up for months and months and months, and it became a situation where a lot of people were calling the police to try to get people off their properties. And even that wasn't working because the police didn't have the jurisdiction to remove somebody just because you have an eviction notice. If it hasn't been, deemed by the sheriff that we're going to enforce it, then the police can't do anything. So it's very important to do your research on the home, find out all the information, and make sure that you're not signing up for something that you're not ready for.
There was a situation here in Guelph. I don't want to mention names or whatever. The gentleman bought a house that really needed a lot of fixing up, like he overpaid for it. And then he
Mm,
discovered that there were squatters in the house and they refused to leave after he paid, I think, $1 million for this property. So he ended up having to pay these squatters, I guess, $3,000 each to leave, which isn't a lot of money. But I think I just can't understand how you have to pay somebody to leave something that you bought and own physically.
yeah, nobody should have to go through something like that. And you know what? Your realtor's job is to ensure that they're doing the research on the home. So if you're going to look at a property and the tenants are not home, and the listing agent did not disclose that there are tenants, and then you find out that there are tenants, we're now in breach of contract because we haven't done our due diligence to ensure all of the information has been verified on the property. Because if there is a tenant living on the home, chances are that there is a rental agreement in place, right? There's a lease agreement. All lease agreements are certified, right? Under the LTB, they have to be signed forms. So if a house is listed for sale and there are tenants, usually in the listing it says that there are tenants. So if we're keeping information, we're omitting information from our clients, and we're omitting information from the public, then we're in direct breach of our license. And it's just not fair. I don't believe somebody should have to pay squatters money to get off their property, especially if you're buying a home that's in disrepair and you're going to have to repair it anyways. We're working backwards at that point. So you definitely want to make sure that we're doing enough research for sure.
Tiffany, for someone that's let's say myself or somebody out there that's looking to buy a home for the first time, what are some
Mhm.
do's and do nots?
Okay, so you do want to get pre-approved. That's the first step. That's what I do with any of my clients. The first step is we get pre-approved. If you were to approach me and you wanted to buy a home, we would have a call where I would ask you straight up, how much do you make a month? How much do you make a year? What kind of expenses do you have? What's your credit score looking like? And then I can tell you, you know what? I'm going to pass you off to my mortgage agent. They're going to give you your pre-approval. The number that they give you for your pre-approval, that is our budget. That's what we're going to use to go out there, because now at least we know what we can afford, right? So you do want to get pre-approved. That's number one. Number two, you don't want to overextend yourself. I like to do a wants versus needs situation with all of my clients where they tell me what they want, they tell me what they think they need, and then I assess what they have going on, of course. And then I sit down with them and I say, look, I know you said you want this many rooms, this location, this whatnot, but in this demographic, this geographic area, we're looking at this price point. If it's within their budget, then great. If it's not, then we're going to look around, right? With buying a home, like you said, this is a very big commitment. And for some people, this is the biggest purchase they're ever going to make in their entire life. You want to make sure that you're doing the research and taking the time to make sure that not only are we happy with what we bought, right? That it work we want to make sure it works for us. In Ontario, we have so much resources available to us. I work downtown, for example. So if I was looking for a home, many would think I would want to live downtown. Absolutely not. Why? Because the price of homes downtown is astronomically higher than it is probably where you are in Guelph, right? Or where I am, Mississauga or Cambridge or wherever. And we have transit systems in place. There's so many things that are available to us to make life easier. So that way, if we're looking for a home, we can look around and see what's available all over the place. We can go online and tweak, the filters when we're searching to see what's available to us within our price point that we still like. So your dues are definitely going to be get pre-approved, do take a look around, don't rush. That's the big thing. You never want to rush because when you rush, you make mistakes. And once you sign that form and you bought that house, it's going to be really hard to not have it at closing, right? So those are the do's and don'ts.
How important is it? I'm going to reword this for somebody that is looking to buy and they want to find an agent. What are some good tips for somebody to find the right agent for your needs?
Okay. So it's just like what we here. Look them up on Instagram. Look up what they have going
Apologies.
on.
Sorry, that is on me. I apologize. It was just a Wi-Fi issue. Are you
It's okay.
back? Just a
Back.
Wi-Fi issue. I think we're back. Okay. Technology
Yes.
sometimes.
That's okay. So as I was saying, when you're looking for a realtor, just go online. Um, Many top producing agents will post their productions online so you can see what they've done and what they haven't done. Then you also want to make sure that the person you're working with, that their goals and values align with yours. So if you're a parent or you have um, a dependent, so you are taking care of your parent, you're a caregiver or whatnot, you want to make sure that the agent that you choose is understanding of your situation genuinely. So I'm a mom. Anyone that approaches me with kids, we already have that bond there because I can understand your priorities. You need a school zone, you need affordability, you need resources close to you, you need grocery, you need food, you need education, you need recreation, you need all these things. If you don't have children, you can work better with somebody who doesn't have children also because things that you're interested in they might understand their priorities may not be the same as yours or they might be. It's you got to shop around just like when you're buying a car. You don't go to the first dealership you see and buy a house from there. You want to shop around.
I want to get your thoughts, Tiffany, as well. So somebody wants to buy a condo apartment or a condo townhouse. How important is
Mhm.
it to check up on the condominium from like you're paying condo fees? How important is it to do your research too?
That is priority. When purchasing a condo property, due diligence includes researching the corporation of the condominium. You need to know if this condo has reserve funds in place. You need to know if they've been maintaining the property. You need to know how much they're charging in maintenance and what is included. And you need to know if there's been any issues previously, if experienced bankruptcy, if they've had fire, mm, how did they mitigate the fire? How do they deal with issues? Because guess what? Once you buy your condo, townhouse, or apartment, it's yours. So if that condo corporation is not operating on a level of which that's to your standards, you're kind of stuck. So it's very important to research the corporation, and that's part of your realtor's job to do their due diligence and check the status certificate of the condominium.
Tiffany, when you do get home insurance for your condo, your apartment townhouse, or your home, is those prices dependent on the city, the location, and the neighborhood too?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you're purchasing insurance for a property, it's the same as when you're buying insurance for your vehicle, right? If you live in Peel Region for your car, you know that it's going to be much higher possibly than if you were to buy proper car in Barrie, right? If you lived in Barrie, same thing goes for a house. If you're insuring a home and the city you live in has a higher rate of home invasion, then your insurance premium might be a bit higher than in a neighborhood where it doesn't. And then we have to put into consideration the type of home that you're buying too. If you're buying a luxurious property in a luxurious neighborhood, then of course the rate is going to be much higher than if you're buying a home that's not luxurious in a not as luxurious areas. Yeah, location is very important.
And one term I wanted to mention with you too is a house poor. Some people end up buying something that's more than they can afford, and their
Mhm.
disposable income has shrunk. Just thoughts on that.
That's why I said step one, most important, pre-approval, right? Your mortgage agent or the lender, whoever you choose, when you want to get pre-approved, they're going to look at everything. They're going to look at your credit score, they're going to look at your expenses, they're going to look at your income, and they're going to say, you know what? We're going to approve you for $500,000 because based on your income and your expenses, you can afford a mortgage every month at this rate. We're going to give you this interest rate because we can see based on your credit that you do have good standing and you do pay your bills on time. So, and that's part when people say house poor in 2025, we should not be house poor. We should not be living above our means. We should not be buying homes that we can't afford. And part of being a good realtor is ensuring that you are getting to know your clients and you're researching their lifestyle and you're saying, hey, listen, you guys like to go out to eat every weekend. You want to buy a house. Maybe not. Maybe we need to make some adjustments here to ensure that we have sustainability. Because I don't want you guys to come back to me next year and say, I'm broke, I can't afford furniture, and it's time for me to pay my property tax and I can't afford it. Oh, so your realtor is going to tell you, listen up, we need to be a bit more disciplined with our daily spending. So that way you can afford to furnish your house, you can afford to maintain your home, and a happy client gives you a happy realtor.
Now, Tiffany, when I used to go to the States, I used to see a lot of nice homes over there boarded up, and I asked people what happened. They're like they couldn't afford their payments and they left. Bankruptcy. Do you find bankruptcy is increasing over here in Ontario, Canada?
Now, in the US, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen so many of these boarded up homes down there. Bankruptcy is an issue everywhere, right? I don't see it increasingly happening here because I do think that people are becoming a bit more financially savvy, where they're saying, um, I'm not going to, overdo it and get something I can't afford, but you never know what's going to happen in life, right? People fall into hardships, you lose your job, you get sick. And I think that's why maybe we don't have an increase in bankruptcy, but we do have an increase in tenancy because people cannot, or rather, they think they cannot afford to buy and they do not want to be disciplined and save. So they'd rather rent. And then we end up having beautiful condo buildings and nobody owns anything and they live there. Everybody is a tenant in the building. That's what I'm seeing mostly.
What are some stereotypes of the real estate agents? What are some stereotypes still of the real estate agency in the industry these days that you still hear from clients?
Oh, I always hear people saying that we just want you to buy a house. We just want you to buy a house. We just want you to buy a house. We don't care about you. We just want you to buy a house. I don't want to sell a house to somebody who can't afford it. I don't want to because I don't want them to come back to me later and they're upset. And it's my fault that I sold them a house that they can't afford. That's one stereotype. Another stereotype is that we don't do any work and we just get paid to drive around. If you look at the day to day of a real estate agent, a full time real estate agent, it's exhausting. And they wake up early in the morning. They do all of their bookkeeping themselves, all of their promotion themselves, all the marketing, accounting. They are their own assistant unless they've hired one. And then they have to go out and show properties. And then they go home and they have to do the contracts. And then we have to do research to make sure that we're understanding what's going on in the world today. And then a lot of realtors are, mature adults, have children, have lives as well. So it's like during the 9 to 5 business hours that we see people operating in, also, real estate does not operate in the 9 to 5. Real estate is really a 24-hour job, and it can be. So, yeah, that's a big stereotype I see that we don't do anything. We just sign a paper and then we get rich. That's not how it works. It's a very task consuming, time consuming career that it takes a certain type of person to be successful in.
As a real estate agent, realtor, you do get a commission. Now, does it depend on the price of the home and a percentage is based on that? How does that work?
So in the province of Ontario, we do have a regular rate that realtors operate under, but it's not mandatory. So you have realtors that will negotiate the commission that they get based on the service that they are providing. If I'm selling your house for you and I'm promoting it for you and I'm paying for staging and photography and whatnot, then the commission that I'm charging you is going to be higher than if I'm helping you to buy your first home because of the amount of work that's going into it and the amount of money that's going into it. Because if I'm paying for your staging and your photography and I'm paying extra for advertising and whatnot, it's coming out of my pocket. So I'm going to charge you a bit more. Versus if I'm taking you out to look at homes and it's your first house that you're buying, I'm not going to charge you 3%, 4%, 5%. And it's all negotiable. In Ontario, it's illegal to tell people that they have to pay whatever amount. It's really up to the client how much they choose to pay because it's commission. It's not, it's there's no standard premium. It's negotiable.
Is there still a trend of quick sales and quick buyers out there in the market?
Absolutely. We had an agent in our office close on a property in a couple of weeks, and that was just because of the circumstance. You know, the sellers were ready to get out in a couple of weeks, the buyers were ready to get in a couple of weeks, so it closed in a couple of weeks. The paperwork was done and cleared, and it worked out. Sometimes, like I've seen it happen where you're in contract with buyers and they don't buy something for a year because they haven't found anything, right? So it all depends. It can There can be quick sales, but there can be some long transactions. So nothing's the same. No two transactions are the same.
Now, being in the real estate industry, Tiffany, how important is connections and networking?
Top, that is at the top, because everybody that you're dealing with is an entrepreneur also. And you want to be able to give your clients options, right? So at King Realty Co, we do have an in-house broker, we have our in-house lawyer. But my clients might want to work with a particular person or a particular type of office or whatnot. So it's important to maintain your connections with people so that way, you know, you have that trust. So that way, when I approach this agent, mortgage agent, and I say, hey, here's my client, yada, 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 they say, you know what, I've known Tiffany for 2 years. She's given me good business. I can trust her and I will join her on this transaction. Versus if I'm just some random agent coming out the woodwork saying, "Hey, I have these people who want to buy a house for $1 million," and you don't know me, you don't see me online, I have no presence, they won't work with you, right? And it makes it harder. So, yeah, networking and connections is very, very, very important.
How would you describe yourself as an entrepreneur?
As an entrepreneur, I would say that I am committed, dedicated, and ready to go. You know what I mean? There's no time like the present. And I've taken the time off that I got after having my son to really assess myself and assess my business. And I can say that right now I'm in a place where I'm comfortable and happy knowing that things are coming my way. You know what I mean? As an entrepreneur, we're all looking for success. We're all looking to make sure that we have longevity in our career. And that's very important, right? So, you just want to make sure that you're doing something that you love so that way when the times get hard and it's very dry in the seasons, because with every field of work there's off seasons, right? You work in with sports too, you see the off season.
Yeah.
Sometimes teams don't do that great 1 year. For 2 years they're doing bad. We saw the Blue Jays, look what they did this year. They
Or
had
the
a
Leafs
great
haven't,
season.
or the Leafs haven't done well in 58 years.
Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah,
And then the Raptors right now, they've had
are
a
playing good
great season so far,
so
right?
far. Yeah,
Last year, how were the Raptors doing?
they were one of the worst teams. So
Not
yes,
that great.
things change
So
year to year. Yes.
every year it's different in every field, right? So it's up to you if you want to be resilient and you want to bounce back. And what you do with the time that you have when you're not having a good year or having a good season is very important because it's like these athletes, when they're not doing that great, are they just going to go home and sit when they have their off season, or are they going to go in the gym and practice so that way next year when season starts they're the top player, they're the MVP, right? You want to be the MVP in everything you do. So that's me, I'm the MVP.
Tiffany, I wanted to ask you this too. I was born in the 70s. I was born in 72, but I remember growing
Mhm.
up in the 70s and 80s. The real estate industry was male dominated. Do you find there's so many more women and women of color in the industry nowadays? Diversity.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's when I first got my license, it was not a very woman dominated field a couple years ago. And joining King Realty Co has showed me that a lot of women, especially women who have been in these careers that they're not happy in, are taking back what's theirs in the sense of saying, you know what? I see what can come to my life from this career, and I'm passionate about it, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to work it around my lifestyle. So that way, being a mom does not interfere with my business. You know, real estate is a beautiful thing when you know how to do it. And when you have the
You
right
s-
mentorship, it's great.
you said the word too, passion. Whatever career you go into, you need
Mhm.
to have a passion. If you lose that passion and you're just doing it for the money and the paycheck, maybe it's time to move on to something else, in my opinion.
Absolutely, because that's how you get burnt out. Working working for the man that you don't like.
Have you experienced that, or have you seen somebody experience burnt out?
I definitely have gotten burnt out. Like I said, when I had my son and I was trying to be a full-time realtor working off leases only, I definitely did get burnt out. I've seen so many people get burnt out. But sometimes the beautiful thing with a burnout is when you crash, if you have that conviction to really assess your life and say, you know what, I need to take a step back and reevaluate my priorities, and you make the decision to do what you love and what you're passionate about, you can come out on top afterwards, you know? It's like the origin story.
Tiffany, do you find home ownership in the real estate industry has shrunk with the high cost of living in Toronto and the GT area?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not only with the high cost of living, but also with the lack of information and education that's provided. The Canadian government has so many incentive programs. Many banks have incentive programs. The Ontario government has incentive programs to help people purchase homes, but people just don't know they exist. A lot of people don't even know Government of Canada will give you 20K to buy a house. They don't know because
I
it's
didn't
not
know
being
that.
advertised. Yes, the first time home buyers incentive, of course. So if you do open a first time home savings account and you want to purchase a home and you plan to live in it, then you can apply with your accountant and your realtor mortgage agent for the incentive to get some money to put down on your home. But there are requirements, of course. There's limitations you have to follow. You have to live there. It's that simple. So yeah, but there's other ones. And I think that because during the pandemic especially we saw a boom of foreign investors, I think that there's something going on where we're trying to take back home ownership in this country, or at least in Ontario from what I've seen, and we're trying to make sure that Ontarians are buying homes in Ontario. So yeah, the industry has shrunk a little bit in terms of people being able to purchase because they don't know, but there's a lot of realtors around. Homes are selling every day, every week. You just have to find the one that's for you and make sure that you know all the options that are available to you.
Tiffany, what are your thoughts? Do you feel AI will eventually have an impact on the real estate agency and now in the future?
AI, oh my goodness. Absolutely. I think AI already does have an impact on real estate. Absolutely. It's just about how you use it, right? I use AI when it comes to, content, finding out what's most important, what's trending right now, you know? Um, but some people say that soon AI is going to be selling houses and that people are not going to need realtors. And I don't think so. You want to know why? Because when you work with humans, there's an element of compassion that you can't get from a computer. It's just like when they said that, oh, AI is going to replace doctors. No, because a computer can't assess a person from being in front of them. You know what I mean? It's not going to
Yeah.
be the same. A computer is going to work on logic and logic only. There's no compassion, right? So in real estate, it is logic, of course, but we also have to work on compassion. A computer will say, you make $50,000 a year, you can afford a home for 200K. Done. A human's going to say, wait a minute, you have children. So you get money from the government that might help you. Wait a minute, you have two living parents. See if you can ask them to help you purchase your house. See if one of them can probably sign on the home for you so that way you can get a higher pre-approval. It's not going to do that unless they program it to. But heck, what will we do then?
Tiffany, one thing I had been seeing in the last few years where people were putting up their own townhouses and homes for sale without real estate agents. I wanted to get
Mhm.
your thoughts on people selling their own homes instead of a real estate agent and why it's always better to have a licensed agent handle the transaction. I guess what they call these people are for sale by owner or FSBO.
Yes, I see those too sometimes. It depends on your life, right? If you really do not want to pay a realtor, and you want to sell your house by yourself, then by all means you go ahead and do it. But it's not an easy task, right? When you get a realtor, you get access to so much software, so much product, so much um resources that you're not going to get on your own because they're not available to the general public, right? We have apps for showings. So many apps just for showings, right? If you put your house up for sale by yourself, You have to put your phone number out there so people can call you to come and see your home. There's a lot of scammers right now. Do you want scammers calling your phone all day long, all night long? Let me come see your house. Let me come see your house. No, you don't. Right? When people come see your home, usually you're not supposed to be home. You leave your key in a lockbox and then they can come and get it, the realtor, right? We follow a code of ethics. We have to be honest. I pay a lot of money for my insurance and my license. I'm not going to jeopardize it. If you don't have a realtor and you try to sell your house, you're giving your key to a complete stranger to come walk inside of your house and take a look. Next thing you know, you got robbed, right? There's pros and cons to everything, but in my opinion, selling your home, you need a realtor because guess what? If you were going under surgery, wouldn't you need a surgeon? You would, right? Because even though you could, perhaps get some anesthesia off the market and then cut your leg open, you kind of want to make sure you have a doctor to do that because they've done the education and they understand what's at risk here, right? A realtor, it's the same thing. You want to get a realtor because they've been educated on the home selling process, they're educated on everything that goes into it. We have access to other people also. I can go inside my phone right now and give you three property inspectors, home inspectors, who can come inside of your house and take a look around and say, hey, I know you want to sell your home, but you have mold growing in your attic and you didn't know that. Didn't know it either. I'm not an inspector, but they did. And if you don't have a realtor, chances are you don't have access to home inspectors. So it just falls into the same category as everything else where it's like hire a professional.
Tiffany, you just mentioned the word home inspectors. When you're looking to buy an apartment or a condo or a townhouse or a house, how important should it be for somebody to get a home inspection before they purchase that home ahead of time, in your opinion?
Inspection is one of the priorities. It's just up there with pre-approval because you don't want to do a blind buy. Right? A lot of people don't know what's behind their walls. You could have water damage, mold, asbestos, faulty wiring. Your house could be a sitting health code violation, and you have no idea because you didn't have a professional come in and take a look at it. So when you're buying a home, and you place the offer, one of the things that you want to do is make sure your offer is contingent on a past home inspection, right? You place your offer and then you select a day where you and your inspector are going to come in and they're going to take a look at the home. They have magnifying glass, right? So they can see the little things that we can't see. And they will let you know, okay, look, I know you said you're going to pay 400K for this house, but you need to have about $30,000 work done on the floor because your floors are not even. Suppose you have a bad back or you have a lot of kids in your house and you have uneven flooring, somebody could fall and hurt themselves. And then you're saving yourself money in the long run by getting an inspector before you close on the house. So absolutely, it's very important.
Generally, how much approximately would it cost to get a home inspection?
It depends, right? Again, this is entrepreneurship, right? Some people will charge you a flat fee, right? They say for 300 bucks, I'll come in and tour the entire home. Some people have, different levels to which what they charge. They say if the house has 7 rooms in it, then it's going to cost a bit more for me to inspect it versus if the house is a 2 bedroom. If the house is, been around since 1901, then the inspection is going to be a bit more meticulous because we have a lot of older things in the house, right? We have older water systems, we have older electrical, we have older lighting, we have older HVAC, we have older insulation, everything's older. So the inspection is going to be a little bit more detailed versus a new build where it's been inspected, it's just been built. So we're just coming in to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be, right?
Tiffany, I have a viewer watching. He is a former guest of mine. He's now a professional motorcycle racer in California. His name's
Mhm.
Edward Hearn. He's watching on live. He's watching on Instagram Live. He wants to ask you, Tiffany, have you seen a rise in property deed scams to try to steal property?
Um, Honestly, I personally haven't in Ontario. I know that's something that happens a lot in other countries or other provinces in the Canada, but not here. Not from my knowledge, no. I have family in England, and she told me that's something that happens there a lot because the laws are different, right? Somebody can come into your house and with the paperwork, they can just say, yeah, it's my home. In Ontario, we have a lot of rules going for that type of things and we have software. Geo Warehouse will give you full home report card. Geo Warehouse will tell you everybody who's owned the house, so it's a little hard to steal somebody's home in the province of Ontario.
That's good to know. Thank you, Edward, for the question. And Tiffany, before we wrap this show up in a few minutes, I wanted to play one of your videos from your TikTok page. Where can people follow you and find you on TikTok?
Okay, so if you are on social media, my handle's the same across the board. It's Sold with Tiff, or if you're on Facebook, it's Tiffane Sankey. And yeah, I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and yeah, my accounts are open. So I'm open to new followers.
And I have your email and your mobile number down on the graphics too if people want to reach you.
Yes.
Just 1 second. I'm going to play this clip. Let me know if you can hear the audio. If you can't, we'll fire the audio guy, which is me. Just 1 second.
Okay.
I thought this was a good clip off your TikTok page. 1 second.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The fact that half you guys are going to scroll past this video, or the fact that half you guys are paying somebody else's mortgage. Here's the truth. In 2025, renting absolutely gives you stability, but it also means that you're giving up control. Control over your monthly costs, control over your long-term stability, control over any equity that you could be building. You're giving it all away. And listen, I get it. Maybe you're unsure about your monthly budget. Maybe you've never bought a house before. Maybe you don't know where you'll be next year. But here is the truth of the matter. If you are renting, you are waiting. What are you waiting for? The cost of homes have gone down. The interest rates have gone down. The inventory has gone up. It's literally the time that you're waiting for. It's here. This isn't about hype. It's about understanding your options in today's market instead of assuming that none exist.
Thoughts on that video, Tiffany?
I still 100% agree with myself. I 100% agree. If you're in a position where you're paying $3,000 a month in rent or $3,500 a month in rent, chances are that you can afford a mortgage, right? A lot of rental agreements don't include utilities, so you're paying rent plus hydro and water and heat, right? Um, so if your rent is 3,500 a month and you're paying all of these utilities, then all we need to work on is a down payment. And a lot of the time, from my experience with tenants, we're renting at a rate that we don't need to be renting at because we either just fell in love with the building or we love where it is and whatnot. But it's like if you have a goal for yourself, and that goes for anything, then in order for you to achieve that goal, you need to make sacrifice and you have to have discipline. And so I 100% still stand on that. If you are renting and you don't have to rent and you can buy, then you should buy. Especially with what's going on right now, we don't want to be at the mercy of somebody else, right? You want to be a homeowner. You want to make sure that where I live is mine and nobody can tell me what I can and can't do with my property and nobody can kick me out when they're ready.
Plus, Premier Doug Ford has kind of been on the landlord side where they can just increase the rent as much as they want every year, too.
Yes, he's getting rid of rent control and he's gotten rid of tenant compensation. And you know what? Some people, it's like a pendulum with this one, right? Because in the pandemic, it was really tenants first. We were prioritizing the tenants because we didn't want to be evicting people for not paying rent. People are not working. But now it's gotten to the point where we're how many years out of COVID? We're how many years out of lockdown, and we still have people that are not paying their rent. We still have people that are not, taking care of their obligations, and the landlords, unfortunately, have been at a loss for a long time. So I think it's been a situation where he said, you know what, enough is enough. I'm going to level the playing field here. But again, if you're a good tenant and you pay your rent on time and you don't destroy the property and you maintain a positive relationship with your landlord, then you
Yep.
shouldn't have anything to worry about. It's
Yep.
really for the people who are not paying their rent and who are destroying people's
Yep.
homes. Yeah.
Tiffany, I was reading up on your bio too. How important is it being bilingual as a real estate or a real agent, being English, Spanish? I think English, Spanish, and French. How important is that too?
I think it's an asset. It's great because I can connect with people who are not from my culture, right? I'm Jamaican background. Jamaica, we speak English. Second language is Spanish. Some people learn it in school. And in Canada, the second language is French. So that means people coming from countries where they are French speaking, they'll feel comfortable working with me because they're speaking in their first language, right? Or their second language. Spanish too. I live in Mississauga. I work downtown Toronto at Union Station. There's a lot of people that come in from different countries, and in customer service, when you speak to people in English and English isn't their first language, they're a little bit more guarded because they're worried about how they sound. And then when you break down that wall and you say, "Oh, how are you?" And then you go to, "Okay, bonjour. Oui, je peux vous aider." Immediately they smile and they feel more comfortable with you because now they're speaking in a language where they're not working to translate in their head and they don't want to sound silly, right? So I think it's great if anybody can learn another language. It doesn't have to be Spanish or French, it can be any language. And I live in Peel Region. We have a predominant South Asian demographic here. It would be in my best interest to learn to speak Punjabi, Hindu, Urdu, any of those languages, because then that opens the door for me in that market as well, right? So
And you also build a rapport with your customers, clients.
exactly. They'll invite me to the wedding because they know I can understand what's going on. Right? So,
Tiffany, as we wrap this up, can you explain a few real estate terms for our audience and some of the most important ones people should know?
sure. So, pre-approval is the most important term to me. That is when you go to the mortgage agent or the bank and you find out what you can afford. Um, What's another term that I could say is important? Status certificate is really important. That's going to show you what's going on with the corporation of the condominium that you're purchasing. Realtor is an important term in real estate because we have to be able to differentiate on the professional that you are working with. If you are working with a realtor, my specialty is in homes and home sales. Inspection is very important. That is when someone comes into the house and they or property and they take a look at it under a fine tooth comb and they want to, turn every leaf and make sure that the home is in good shape and good repair. Yeah.
As we wrap up this show, what's 4 words or less to describe yourself as a real estate realtor agent?
Okay. I'm honest. I'm trustworthy. I am loyal and I'm smart. Very smart.
How satisfying is it to be able to assist people in finding their homes?
Oh my gosh, this is the best feeling. And this is why I do it in the first place. Because you know what? Sometimes people come from a less than favorable situation, right? We have people coming from all kinds of backgrounds, and where you live, a lot of people don't even think about it, but where you live makes such a huge difference on your stress level. And finding the right place and having this whole situation, which again can be the biggest transaction, the most expensive purchase of your life. Having the right agent to help you make this a seamless and peaceful transaction makes all the difference. And you know what? Going with people to different properties and seeing them react to different homes and getting to know them and learning what they like and what they don't like. When you find that home and their face lights up when they walk inside and they say, "Oh my gosh, I love it." And then when you call them and say, "Hey, you got the property. Hey, you've been approved. Hey, it's closing day." Just the reaction you get, that's it. That's what makes all the difference. It's just a fulfilling feeling to help people at the end of the day. And that's why I do it, because I love to help people.
How important is branding and marketing yourself? And do you have any plans for your own website and maybe a podcast in the future?
Ooh, absolutely. A podcast would be great, especially in 2025. We've seen such a rise in podcasts from entrepreneurs in different fields. But branding, personal branding, that's key. That's the top because that's how people are going to remember you. I do have an agent in in the office I work for. Her name is Latrice, and she's the modern real estate agent. And she gives white collar service, luxury realty. And her logo, she puts it all over everything. So when she has her homes open for sale, she has, the toilet paper and the bath mats and, the towels and everything. They all have her logo on it. So when people are in the house, they see the logo, it's like top of mind. And that's what it is. When you have your own business, you want to stay top of mind because when someone says, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm gonna do. My lease is up." And then they open their phone, they go, "Oh, I remember I saw that lady Tiffany on TikTok yesterday. I'm gonna, check out her page." Boom, we have a client. So yeah, branding is
Hopefully,
very important.
and hopefully somebody watches this show live stream or on audio and they contact you as well. And Yeah, Tiffany, I want to say thank you so much for coming on here, and I'm just going to wrap this up. What are some fun facts or a fun fact about yourself? And do you have a question for the host CDP to put me on the hot seat?
Okay, so fun fact about me is even though I do real estate, I am writing a book right now.
Wow. Are you able to tell us about the book?
Sure. So I really like romance novels and I like women's fiction and I like different cultures. So my book is about a woman who moves to Jamaica to pursue a career in wedding dress designing. And it just kind of sort of follows the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur and living in a new place and, being a single adult in 2025. It's a little fun story. Hopefully, I have it out next year. Maybe not. Who knows what's going to happen, right? But the book is coming. Um, and now, question
Self-published? Self-published?
maybe we'll see. We'll see. Because I might want to join Bloomberg or something to get my book put out there so I can make $1 million. But we'll see.
What are your thoughts on the shrinking paper copies? Like everything's going to digital. What's your thoughts on it?
I mean, it's great. It's accessibility, right? If everyone's on their phone, then just buy the book on your phone anyways. I personally like a book. I like to be able to sit down with like my tea and like flip the pages. I was born in 98, so I came right before the tech boom. So I'm used to doing things. Even with my work, like in real estate, when I'm with my clients, I take notes on paper because I just retain it better when I write it with my hand. You know what I mean? But I think it's great and it makes things way easier also, right? I don't have to like I have a bookshelf, but if I had a Kindle, I would have 50 books on my Kindle versus 50 books on my shelf. And then God forbid something happens in my house and I lose all my books. I'd be devastated versus if I have a Kindle, it's on an account. I can buy another Kindle and my books are still there. So
I was
yeah.
just talking to somebody about this last night, how I used to read newspapers all the time and buy magazines, and now it's been over 10 years because the market has changed.
Yeah. Nobody even I haven't bought a magazine in years. Since high school, I haven't bought a magazine. Wow. Or read the newspaper. I just look on my phone. I go on
Yep.
Twitter and then I go on CP24 and I just scroll. I don't even, yeah, things are changing, but there's
Or
some of
going
us
to
that hold on to it.
Yep, or going to a sporting event now. You used to get ticket stubs, and I used to collect them as a memorabilia collector, and now it's all
Mhm.
on your phone. It's like if you don't have a smartphone or a laptop, you're lost in today's society, and especially in the real estate agency too, as a realtor.
Oh, please. You could not be a realtor and not be on top of tech. It's not going to work because just to sign a contract, I don't touch paper. It's all digital. I do my consultations on Zoom. I use our software to send contracts. I use a different software to set appointments. I use Google Calendar for my day-to-day. When you get to the appointment, you have to present your RICO license. That's on your phone. Like everything is digital. So any realtor who's operating on, pen and paper, brick and mortar, all the power to you. Good luck.
So, finally, ask the host CDP a question. Do you have a question for me as we wrap this up?
Yes, as you've been doing this, are you finding that you are getting increase in different fields of people reaching out to you?
Absolutely. I have over 70 countries around the world listening to this show, and I have over almost 600,000 views on YouTube. And I just reached over 10,000 plays and downloads and streams on Spotify as well. So this show is not just a local show in Guelph, it's basically international. And that's the thing, too. Being on social media and opening yourself here, you're not limiting yourself to one area, you're basically worldwide. And this technology really does shrink the world down.
That's the beauty of it. Everybody seems like they're your neighbor because they're just one click away.
And before we wrap this up, you mentioned too, neighbor. You can buy the nicest neighborhood, the nicest home, but your neighbors are just, I think, as important as the home and the location in itself.
Absolutely. And that's why showings are so important. But then also, if you see a house you really like, visit the neighborhood 3 days later in the evening. Just drive through and take a look and see who lives there. take a look at the neighbor, like the direct adjacent neighbors. Look at how these people, like on my street, everybody's so kind. Everyone walks their dog. Everyone says good morning. There's a park across the street. We have a gentleman who takes time out of his own day to pick up trash that the students leave in the park. Like these little things just make it so much easier. I don't wake up when I order things on Amazon, I don't wake up nervous somebody's going to steal it off my porch because I don't live in that type of neighborhood. You know what I mean? The neighbors make a big difference. You're absolutely right.
And I definitely think you should have a podcast because I think you're natural on camera and you have a lot of good information as well.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Tiffany. And finally, how can our audience follow you or find you on social media, your website, and the best way of contacting you at King Realty Company?
Yes, King Realty Co. That's
Cool.
just Google it. King Realty Co. Just Google King Realty Co. Will pop up number one. Bethany King, beautiful lady with not long black hair. You'll see her face there. You want to follow me? Sold with Tiff across all platforms.
And as we wrap up this show, I want to do this for you too. I'm going to try this. And that's for coming on here today, Tiffany. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm still learning all the time of StreamYard's always making these changes, and I'm always kind of reinventing myself. And I want to say thank you so much, Tiffany, for coming on here. Continued success in the real estate agents industry, and you have an open invite to come back on my show again. And when is your book coming out in the future too?
Well, I'm still writing it.
Okay.
So when I finish writing it and I meet with the publisher, I will let you know, Chris. Okay. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Tiffany, for coming on here today. Everybody, you can email her email address and her mobile phone number is here if you want to get in touch with her. If you're watching this or listening to this in the GTA, Tiffany, thank you so much. Give me a little bit of time tonight, and I will send you the full video, the audio, and some reels and clips as well. I have another show at 4 o'clock today. So thank you so much for coming on here today. It was nice to connect with you, and I learned a lot about the real estate agent industry from you as well.
Great. I'm very grateful that you invited me on, Chris. You have a great rest of your day, and I can't wait to see what you do in the future. You're doing awesome.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Guests make a great show. That's how I look at it. Thank you so much, Tiffany. We'll talk to you soon.
See you later. Thank you. Goodbye.
All right, everybody. That concludes season 12, episode 23, overall 628 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Remember to check out their website, barrycullen.com, and or drop by the dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall and tell them that Chris Palme sent you as well. I want to say thank you to my guest today, Tiffane Sankey. Tiffane Sankey, who is a real estate agent, broker with King Realtor Co. I'm going to learn how to say that word. That's a tongue twister for me as well. You can also follow Tiffany on the social media platforms, kingrealestate.ca /agent Tiffane Sankey. And you can follow Tiffany King Realtor on Instagram. And also Tiffany's on TikTok at Sold with Tiff on TikTok.com. And check out our Linktree page, Linktree T Sankey as well. As we wrap up this show, guys, got some baseball news to announce as well. And this baseball news is from the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in St. Mary's, Ontario. And yesterday they made an announcement that Hazel May, a longtime Blue Jays reporter with Sportsnet, has won the Jack Graney Award. So she'll get that award in June at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. Hazel May is one of the best in the business. So I'm happy the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame awarded her the Jack Graney Award. It's an award for broadcasting excellence in Canada in covering baseball. And Josh Naylor, the former Cleveland Guardian and now with Seattle, won the Tip O'Neill Award as being the top Canadian baseball player this year as well. So congratulations to Josh Naylor and Hazel May on your awards from the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. Please check out their website, baseballhalloffame.ca, or you can visit the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame down at 386 Church Street South in beautiful St. Mary's, Ontario. And a shout out to Scott Crawford. So again, congrats to Hazel May and Josh Naylor for winning these awards as well. We have Thursday night football on tonight, guys. The Dallas Cowboys, 6-5, mediocre team, taking on the Detroit Lions, 7-4. Lions Cowboys tonight at 8:15. This is a huge game for the Lions, who are 7-5 and out of a playoff spot right now. And Dallas is trying to get back into the NFC East picture as well. So Cowboys Lions tonight, 8:15 on Thursday night football with Al Michaels. This is, or you can listen to it on the Lions. You can listen to it on the Lions Radio Network with Dan Miller as well tonight as well. Huge game. The Lions are fighting for their playoff life. Same with Dallas. Being a Philadelphia Eagles fan, I have to go for the Detroit Lions tonight. So I'm hoping Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions can get a win tonight at Ford Field tonight over the Dallas Cowboys as well. And as we wrap up this show a little bit early, guys, I have another show today at 4 o'clock. The next live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again brought to you by BarryCullin.com, is Thursday, December 4th, which is this afternoon, a couple hours from now, at 4 p.m. Eastern with a special guest, a friend of the show, a friend of mine, Dylan Baker, the new radio play-by-play announcer on CJOY 1460 AM for the Ontario Hockey League's Guelph Storm. Dylan's going to come on and talk to us about the process of getting the new job as the Storm's radio play-by-play announcer. Also talk to him about following in the footsteps of Larry Malott, who retired after 30 plus years behind the mic of the Guelph Storm. Talk a little bit about the 25-26 Guelph Storm team, who are in a playoff position right now in the Western Conference, and they had a big win yesterday, 5-2 over the Brampton Steelheads as well. And I'm really looking forward to talking to Dylan also about Guelph being awarded the 2027 Memorial Cup tournament as well. So Dylan Baker, the voice of the Guelph Storm, will join us this afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern on Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. Again, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph. Thank you so much to my guest today, Tiffane Sankey, a real estate agent in the GTA with King Realtor Co, for coming on here today. So I hope everybody has a great afternoon. Come by at 4 o'clock in a couple hours from now, and me and Dylan will talk some hockey, Guelph Storm, and a little bit about the Memorial Cup and about being the play-by-play voicer of the Ontario Hockey League team, the Guelph Storm, and going to school full-time as well. So thank you everyone for watching this live stream and my audio platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Good Pods. And by the way, if you like fresh, homemade lasagna, pizza, garlic bread, soup, chili, everything's homemade. Cipriana's Pizzeria is located at 22 Queen Street West, Cambridge, Ontario. Andrea is their owner. You can call her at 519-220-1295, or you can check out their website, ciprianaspizzeria.ca. So if you love homemade pizza, lasagna, soup, chili, she makes her own bread, cheesecake. Check them out. Please support a small local business. So Cipriana's Pizzeria is the place to go for pizza, lasagna, chili, soup, and fresh bread. And her cheesecake is to die for as well. So a little plug out to Andrea, the owner of Cipriana's Pizzeria at 22 Queen Street East in Cambridge. I hope everybody has a great afternoon, and hopefully we'll see some of you back here at 4 o'clock this afternoon with Dylan Baker, the radio voice of the Guelph Storm on CJOY here in Guelph. Good afternoon, everybody, and we'll talk to you in a few hours from now with Dylan Baker.